At just 20 years of age, Damien Robertson from Albury has spread his wings and made the big time, joining the Falcons as the final member of their 10-man roster.
A relief to finally get the news that, that I had the spot. There's three of us vying for it, and we'd played a course of games over the last couple of weeks, and to get the news that I got the spot was, very exciting.
Short but quick, Robertson emerged from the three-cornered contest against Daniel Palmer and Robert Nikolic as the player with the most to offer. Head coach Sean Dennis says Robertson's good defence skills and ability to make smart on-court decisions made him the standout rookie.
Damien has shown that he has those three qualities, and he's been compared to another Wayne Larkins, who was a short player that 5'8" that played in the league for 15 years. Now, to have that comparison, I think, is fantastic.
At 181 centimetres tall, Robertson is the smallest basketballer on the roster. Playing back up to Falcons star Butch Hayes, the point guard says he'll be relying on his speed to outmanoeuvre the opposition. With the lineup now finalised, Dennis says the Falcons are shaping up for their most competitive season yet.
By mid-season, we'll be playing a great brand of basketball, and we're really working towards one of the goals we set ourselves, and that was to be, a really tough team to play against, and that's starting to come along fine.
Simone Cobb, NBN News. The sunlight streaming through the ornate stained glass windows today illuminated the Christchurch Cathedral in all its newly restored splendour. 8 years after the Newcastle earthquake, repairs costing more than $15 million are almost complete.
Well, it's a very gratifying experience, and it's particularly gratifying because the community as a whole has been so involved in making it possible.
The Anglican Church today launched its restoration appeal to help raise more than $400,000 to allow work to continue. The cathedral now has its own Walk of Fame, where business and community groups, even individuals, can buy a brick and have their names set in stone.
It's about recognising the financial support from the community. It's also giving the community an opportunity to have their own little piece of history, their own name, their family's names, engraved and placed on a brick, so that in the future they can come and say, that's all our family there.
Supporters of the cathedral's restoration laid the first bricks, including Bishop George Hurst on behalf of Prime Minister John Howard. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
I'm so pleased to be here and just meeting old people, old friends.
As if ARL boss Neil Whittaker didn't already have enough on his plate with Super League, he's now dealing with racism in football. The issue flared last Sunday when North Sydney centre Chris Caruana directed racist comments at Knights centre Owen Craigie. Caruana was swiftly fined and ousted from the Bears' first-grade squad. In an attempt to end racism, the ARL is coming up with new guidelines.
It ought to be that people, if we do have an incident, that it gets managed through mediation and people get back on with it. And I'd like to think that the situation with the fines is the secondary thing.
Despite that, the ARL will recommend a substantial fine, rumoured to be in the vicinity of $20,000. Meanwhile, Whittaker says he's happy with the support given to the ARL, both Australia-wide and in Newcastle. With reasonable crowds turning out for both Knights games this season, Whittaker isn't looking back.
We're very, very confident that the support will be here for the events that the Knights put on, and nothing else matters much.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
It was standing room only at the Trades Hall Council meeting, with 120 members keen to vote on the union movement's next president. It was a race between two women from the left faction, Metal Workers Union organiser Mary McGill and Teachers Federation activist Janet McLean. Although support for the candidates appeared split before voting, Ms McGill won by a wide margin, making Trades Hall Council history.
Well, I'm pleased to see that at long last a woman's been elected as Newcastle Trades Hall Council President. At least it takes on board that the males now recognise that the females are quite adequate at carrying out the position.
She replaces Dennis Nichols, who resigned last month after 14 years as president. Ms McGill says she'll be busy over the next 3 years fighting the Howard government.
Make sure that the Trades Hall Council brings the total trade union movement together, that we work collectively to try to overcome some of the problems that we're going to be dealing with, both industrial, political and also community problems.
Simone Cobb, NBN News. It was in the early hours of a December morning in 1995 that Robert Wilson killed 44-year-old Vijay Sen in this house at Johns River near Port Macquarie. After hitting him over the head with a lead bar, he stabbed him 17 times, later surrendering to police. He told officers, "I wanted to kill him. I know it is hard to kill a man. I know you have to stab them a lot of times to kill them." In Newcastle Supreme Court today, Justice Grove found Wilson not guilty of the murder by reason of mental illness. Although he said Wilson knew he had killed Sen, he said he did not appreciate the wrongness of what he was doing. Wilson believed Sen was evil and that a Christian village neighbouring the house was a satanic cult. Justice Grove ordered that Robert Wilson be kept in strict custody in the hospital of Long Bay Prison. He made no mention of how long he should be kept in custody, saying he should be dealt with by due process of the law. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
RAF Williamtown plays a small role in defence operations from this building. That role will be expanded with the bulldozing of the No. 3 Control and Reporting Unit, which will be moved under the one roof and called the Eastern Region Operations Centre.
Brings together a couple of old facilities, improves the morale of the people on this base so that they can bring together all of the facilities needed to make sure that Australia is safe.
The centre, employing 170 personnel, will house the RAF's early warning and over-the-horizon radar systems, bringing the Air Force's defence system along the East Coast up to date.
At the moment, our processes are very manual. We'll be able to automate a lot of them. It'll become quicker, more efficient, take less time and certainly cost a lot less.
Williamtown RAF Base is currently on the shortlist for Australia's headquarters of Command Theatre. The new operations centre is expected to increase Williamtown's chances of securing the $250 million project.
If it does go ahead, we'll be pushing very hard to make sure that Williamtown is included.
An official announcement on the project is expected within 5 months, with work to start next January. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
After talks with the Honeysuckle Hotel developers last night, Lord Mayor Greg Hees believes a compromise has been reached. The Holiday Inn Consortium unveiled new plans that would remove 21 condominiums from its controversial waterfront site and seed built into the hotel development instead.
I feel that we made great progress and we should, well, it really depends on what happens with the rescission motion on Tuesday night, but then we can look forward to having I think a good outcome.
While the purpose of the new option is to open up more public space along the waterfront, Council could give no guarantees. What the plans will do is make the Holiday Inn Hotel either higher, longer or both.
Yes, that's right. That's the trade-off. If the community wants more open space.
But the so-called compromise has resulted in a stalemate between the rival hotels. The Intercontinental Consortium planned for a site across Merewether Street believe the Holiday Inn's new plans will almost entirely block its views.
Already that building covers the entire frontage of our hotel, and so making it longer will just make the situation worse for us and will make it unworkable.
4 councillors vehemently opposed to any development on the waterfront site refused to attend last night's meeting. They and 2 other councillors are behind a rescission motion that will attempt to reverse Council's decision to rezone the foreshore area. Council will vote on the rescission motion next week. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Malcolm Reilly has all but worn out the tape of Newcastle's clash with Norths. The Knights coach sticks by his comments it was a great 12-man performance, but adds there'll have to be a similar effort if Newcastle is to crush South Queensland. With the Johns brothers sidelined through injury and suspension, Leo Denver and Matthew Gidley combine in the halves.
I just want the 2 kids to lead the forwards around the park and make sure that when we turn the ball over, that it's turned over in pressure situations.
Reilly has no doubt the combination will click on Sunday.
They're 2 gifted players. Both of them's got great skills, and just to play safe at times and back themselves, with the running game as well as the passing game.
The duo worked on the Knights' attacking game at training this afternoon, but Leo concedes they'll also come in for attention in defence.
I think they're going to point us out, being the young blokes, and they say they're inexperienced, but I think we're going to handle it pretty well, so got no worries.
Knights officials are hoping for a bumper crowd. Their Marathon Stadium debut a fortnight ago was marred by atrocious conditions. The Knights won then. Bookmakers forecast a similar result against the Crushers. According to those most affected, mental health services are sadly lacking across Lake Macquarie. Pelican House at Cardiff and residential rehabilitation are the lake's only services.
There is always more to be done, and there hasn't been enough money to get the kind of expansion that the government and I know the Minister for Health would like to see.
The New South Wales mental health budget is also down on other states, an average $57 per capita in the Hunter, compared with $71 in Victoria. Compounding the problem is that the majority of mental health services are located in Newcastle, making travel for patients difficult. But a group of mental health consumers in Lake Macquarie isn't prepared to sit back and wait for government handouts, today forming its own support service.
There's a need for acquiring skills, and it's even just the basic needs of having a place to belong where you can come and you can talk over your problems with your friends.
The service, to be run by the mentally ill and overseen by other health workers, is hoped to have permanent premises by the end of the year. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Brad Godden and Robbie McCormack trained with first grade this afternoon. After being dropped from the A-team for the weekend's clash against North Queensland, they were back with the top squad today. Despite that, both are still in reserves for the round 5 clash with Canberra. Graham Murray considers the duo part of firsts, but having said that, he wants to stick with the same lineup that won on Saturday. He's named an unchanged team. Noel Goldthorpe is captain. Murray was impressed with his leadership.
I was happy with the way Tony played too, but I think Noel's game was a lot better. His support play and his direction was pretty good.
That win over North Queensland has put confidence back in the Mariners camp.
Certainly it eased the pressure off everyone, and as you could, the last couple of days has been very relaxed and everything's going along smoothly now, so everyone's back to normal.
The pressure is now coming from within. Several players are finding form, and first grade selection is a week-to-week proposition.
Yeah, there's plenty of young blokes, and plus you got Brad Godden and that, he lost his spot, so you got plenty of pressure on. And
disappointed at a disastrous start to the season, Canberra will be out for its first win on Sunday. While they lost Barry Lee and Ken Nagus in last night's loss to Brisbane, Ricky Stewart is expected to return from injury. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Overnight, the Newcastle Council again deferred a final decision on the rezoning of the Merriweather Wharf site. It was the final straw for the backers of the Holiday Inn Hotel and condominium development and prompted this warning.
If we don't have the go-ahead for this project by the 22nd of April, then we'll be doing other projects rather than this one in Newcastle.
To back up the threat, the consortium said it today reopened negotiations for hotels in Sydney and Brisbane. The City Council will now accept a state government offer of mediation between supporters of the hotel and those on council opposed to it.
We're demonstrating to the community that we're giving this every chance that we can to make this work. We know that we have to make a final decision soon, one way or the other.
However, the developers say they won't accept an invitation to take part in the mediation.
Whilst the land that we are interested in is effectively zoned port-related uses, we don't see a role in that mediation for us.
The developers have the full backing of the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce.
I think this whole situation is becoming a farce.
Whilst one hotel development founders, another has been given the go-ahead by Newcastle Council. The former Latec House in Newcastle West is to be replaced by a 12-storey suite-style hotel and residential development. The $15 million Yeoman Tower will boast 92 apartments, a restaurant and conference centre. The first 5 accommodation floors will be for guests, the top 4 will be for permanent residents. Phil Hind, NBN News.
Marcia Baxter has spent most of her life in the sun. Today at Warners Bay Private Hospital south of Newcastle, she prepared for the treatment that will help undo the damage.
I've come off a farm, I love the sun, I love the outdoor life, and I never wore a hat, so consequently I've ended up with heaps of wrinkles.
The CO2 laser system is the latest way to improve the appearance of wrinkles, acne scarring and sun-damaged skin and lips.
I think it's very effective. I think it's by far and away the most effective method that we have at the moment.
A high-energy laser beam vaporises the superficial layers of the skin. Carbon dioxide gas providing the particular wavelength needed for the energy to react with water in the skin. The beam is first aimed at the wrinkle, then the surrounding skin, the operation taking anywhere from 30 minutes to nearly 2 hours. The laser system replaces dermabrasion and chemical peels, which sand off or peel away the top layers of skin.
The benefits are that it is safe, it is accurate, and it provides a good result.
At first, the treatment leaves the patient looking like they've been badly burned, but within months the skin returns to normal. The procedure itself has been around for nearly 4 years, but up until now people have had to travel to Sydney for treatment. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
Lake Macquarie City Council receives about 2,500 complaints from residents each year. Until now they've been handled over the phone and then written onto a piece of paper. But Ian Allames has devised a computer-based system that will remove errors and keep track of complaints. Once a complaint or request is put to council, it's placed on a database and then acted upon according to the suburb and type of work. Its success is already evident, with 90% of complaints being answered within 10 days.
We're getting as much benefit out of it as the customer is, simply by being able to streamline the system and try and keep our costs down, where we're not crossing over our own tracks all the time.
And ratepayers have reacted positively.
We're getting a lot of congratulations and thanks in the field where people traditionally weren't aware of what was happening.
The computer program will be used across council's operations and could be sold to other councils. Blake Doyle, NBN News. Volunteers were shocked when they entered the Pacolban headquarters last night to find one of their vehicles missing. A side security door had been prized open. Missing was a converted Nissan Patrol worth $60,000 and other firefighting gear valued at $15,000.
The brigade have lost their mower, whippersnipper, their generator, their air compressor and hoses.
All that was spared was a mobile water tanker, while an empty toolboard only served to ram home the thieves' cruelty. The theft is believed to have occurred between Monday evening and last night. Police are unsure whether it's the act of locals. It's a blow for a group of volunteers who are highly regarded in the Pakolban community. The fire service has condemned the thieves and is appealing for public help in finding the missing equipment. Blake Doyle, NBN News. The mud was flying as competitors tested the Tomago track today for a pre-title hit-out. It's an impressive field with an international flavour, competitors from the US, New Zealand as well as Australia's best.
Current Australian champion, that's Figuliumi for Western Australia. We've also got the 4 times previous Australian champion, Warren Eakins from Northern Territory. The current New Zealand champions, that's Graham Standring. He's going very, very fast. He was here last week, as a matter of fact, and gave everybody a bit of a shock.
Locals Adam Park and Roger Clark make up the local contingent. Organisers say they could place in the top 15. Drivers take to the track on Friday night in the first of 18 heats, but the real action happens on Saturday night with the 40-lap final. Previous years have been a washout. Organisers are hoping otherwise.
Every other year we either get washed out or we get one day of rain and the other overcast, so it looks like the weather's going to be with us.
Saturday night's program will be rounded out with the super sedans.
Brass and concert bands from as far away as Perth in New Zealand began exercising their lungs today. It's the first time in 50 years that Newcastle has hosted Australia's premier band competition.
3,000 musicians in town and 64 bands actually, and it's been a bit of a drama over the last few months, but we've all got it together now.
Getting it together musically at the City Hall were the bands in the A-grade competition. It's a testing time for the players. The piece on which they'll be judged, called Coal River, was specially commissioned for the championships. It commemorates 200 years of Newcastle's history from convict coal settlement to thriving industrial hub. It was also the first time composer Barry McKim had heard his work played.
To hear it is just such a different experience than having it in your mind, you know. To hear it, it becomes real and it's just terribly moving.
I had my hair standing at the back of my neck.
The highlight of the band championships will be a street march through the centre of Newcastle tomorrow morning, featuring around 1,000 musicians. Phil Hind, NBN News.
The The day after, and it was smiles all around in the Newcastle camp after being quoted at 14-1 to win the premiership a fortnight ago. The Knights have now firmed into fives. It's by far the biggest move in ARL betting, and it mirrors Newcastle's outstanding form. Malcolm really is understandably pleased with last night's game, in particular the effort of his young backline.
We knew that the outside backs of the Roosters had some weaknesses there, and we exploited them.
But the Knights' victory may have come at a cost. Matthew Johns was out of action this morning. He tore muscles in his thigh after this kick in the final minute of the match.
Obviously he's feeling pretty sore, straight after a game. You always feel bumps and bruises when you get a certain, not a major injury, but a fair knock in a place or a tear. Always pull up sore straight after the game.
Adam McDougall also needs to prove his fitness.
Yeah, I've got some slight ligament damage to the ankle, but once again, there's plenty of time, We'll have a look in the middle of next week.
The Knights host Parramatta next Sunday.
An Easter break with the family at Foster was cut short for a Whitebridge homeowner whose friends rang to tell him his house was on fire. Firefighters were called to the Flora Close address south of Newcastle just after 3 this morning. Flames leaping from a locked ground floor garage were caught just before they enveloped the rest of the house. A Ford Falcon 500 parked in the garage had been badly scorched by flames. Later investigations pointed to a break-in and deliberately lit fire. The car was fitted with anti-theft devices and the owner had taken extra precautions to secure the garage. However, the car was not insured.
A replay of the 96 final at Newcastle's #1 sports ground. After winning the toss and electing to bat, Waratah Mayfield couldn't have imagined a worse start. They lost the first 4 wickets cheaply. Matt Trail dismissed for 7 when he scooped to Mark Bailey. At 4 for 26, Murray Christie provided some resistance to take Waratah to 68 at lunch, but that was as good as it got, Waratah crumbling to be all out for just 121. With more than a day left, it seemed a mere formality for Wallsend, but Jason Padgett's wicket in the 3rd over started the Tigers' collapse. Several quick wickets and Wallsend was reeling at 6 for 48. They held on late this afternoon to take the match to another day.